What if I told you that the new generation of kids has the least control over their brains than any other before? There have been so many cases of kids absolutely blazing over their iPads being taken away. But what if it's because these things are changing the very structure of their brains forever? And it's not just Gen Alpha or Beta. Everyone of all ages is being deeply affected by brain rot content, and it could prove to have some harmful effects. But how bad is it really? Before we can start, we need to nail down what brain rot actually means. Brain rot normally refers to this kind of slop that you'd find on social media. They are content that provides absolutely no value and could be damaging to the person watching it. The catch is that they are absurdly addictive, and it reels you into watching even more of itself. Because of this, brain rot is quite literally like a drug. There's also the second less universal definition of brain rot, but for the sake of this video, we're only gonna focus on this. Brain rot is so widespread around the whole of the internet that nearly everyone is addicted to social media because of this stuff, which can be a huge problem, especially in kids who are growing up. However, you might object that brain rot isn't a new problem, and you'd be correct. Before the kind of slop we have today, we had stuff like this, and before that, we also had stuff like this. Does anyone remember these? Drop them down in the comments below. The point is, brain rot content has technically existed since the beginning of the internet. There was brain rot like Badger Badger, Nyan Cat, and Peanut Butter Jelly Time back in the early 2000s, which people got heavily obsessed with just like brain rot today, including kids. And if you look really closely, the weirdness and other traits that most people complain about when talking about brain rot haven't really changed at all. Kids would be singing Peanut Butter Jelly Time just as much as the modern equivalent today. If the actual content has stayed relatively the same, what could have caused there to be such a huge surge in these dysfunctional kids? One of the first very glaring factors is the fact that the way social media works today is a whole lot more evil than it was before. To put it simply, social media originally started off as a simple way to connect with your friends no matter where you were, and that was it. There wasn't really a profit motive, as the internet was a much smaller community then. The stuff being put out was almost always out of pure passion and enjoyment. However, social media today is different. As the internet grew, more people started to see potential in making money from it. This made social media less concerned with the community and fun aspect, but rather the money-making aspect, which has made things so much worse. The biggest task that social media does is to try and keep you on their platform for as long as humanly possible. Why? Money. Firstly, they keep track of all the little things you do, collecting data about you, which is then sold to other companies, which gives them money. Secondly, the longer you stay on a website, the more ads you see. These ads come from companies that pay them to show you the ads so that it grabs your attention, which gives them money. Thirdly, the more time you waste away on it, the more likely you are to pay for things that the social media offers as you rely more and more on it, which, you guessed it, gives them money. There's so many more reasons why social media does it, but it all ultimately gives them money. Over the years that follow, social media perfect their craft more and more, making their content more and more addictive with one goal in mind: to keep you coming back for more. Nowadays, content makes its way towards you using an algorithm that is designed to match your interests as closely as possible. Not only that, the type of content prevalent on the platforms has also become much more dopamine hitting, so rewarding to your brain in fact, that it essentially takes over your daily activities. Short form content is pretty much a concoction of everything that keeps a person hooked to their phone into one never-ending stream. Social media has mostly gone from being a place of creativity to now being a funny way to spell drugs. Also, it's not just about the companies, it's also about the people making the content itself. The kind of stuff being put out follows the same exact trend. More and more people are making content simply for the sake of money and not because of their passion. And in order to keep more and more people's attention on your own content, you have to resort to making your content more and more stimulating so that they don't click away and watch your competitors. It's an arms race between channels to see who can make the most stimulating video. The people creating brain rot now are more likely making it because they know kids are going to get addicted to the content, bringing in more ad revenue and opening many doors for money to come in. And in order to achieve that, many different tactics are used to keep your attention on for as long as possible, no matter if it fries away your dopamine receptors. Just a small price to pay. The platforms and the creators changing is one big factor as to why brain rot is such a big problem, but it isn't the only one. The other reason is the fact that the internet has only recently become pretty much universal. At the same time that social media got progressively more addictive, more people across the globe also began to jump on the bandwagon, and by more, I mean 5.5 billion people, or nearly 70% of the world. And of those people, 5.2 billion were social media users. A decade ago, the number was only 2.7 billion people. The point is though, children are now getting access to the internet younger than ever before, and also more in quantity than ever before. Pair that with the extremely addictive social media, and you get an absolutely abhorrent match. There's a reason why this kind of reaction occurs when you try to take their iPad away from them. However, it gets deeper. Before we talk about the other reasons as to why iPad kids become iPad kids in the first place, we gotta look at the main problem at hand, how much it actually affects kids. Brace yourself. First of all, you obviously have the physical problems that come with using any electronic device while hunched over, notably eye strain and vision problems. Another side effect is a sedentary lifestyle. Because of this addiction to the internet, kids nowadays are less likely to quite literally go outside and touch grass. They're also a lot less likely to get proper exercise and physical activity that a child really needs. After that, we have the terrifying list of mental issues. The fast-paced, addictive content leads to a shortened attention span, and this can alter how they grow up forever, as they become artificially less capable of things like reading or studying. Because of how much the apps occupy their brains, it leaves very little rooms for opportunities to think critically or solve problems independently, which gives the terrifying side effect of reducing their critical thinking skills. It also makes it significantly harder to manage their frustrations and boredoms without the screen as a distraction, making for more frequent meltdowns and tantrums. Being so addicted to the screen, it also affects their social skills, which not only affects other people outside in the real world, but also their families, their own parents, which already brings a whole host of negative side effects. Being isolated on a screen like this reduces their empathetic and communication skills, and they can miss out on a lot of meaningful interactions that would genuinely benefit them. Having only touched their iPad, they may become a lot less skilled in otherwise regular physical activities that most of you can do, like writing using a pencil or even just flipping pages in a book. They may find it extremely difficult to function normally outside of the black bars of Instagram Reels, and they may lack real-world skills. Being constantly exposed to blue light from day to especially night, it can mess up their circadian rhythms and cause fatigue. They're also extremely likely to become sleep deprived because brain rot is so addictive that they would rather stay awake watching more reels, which affects literally every other aspect in the list. Whew. Anyway, we have this list, but how much has it actually affected kids in real life? Well, a lot. According to this 2023 article, 84% of teachers have reported that children's attention spans are getting shorter than ever. They said that children were more likely to move around the room, complain about being bored, and annoy or provoke others in the classroom, and that inattention and daydreaming were increasing as well. To further nail it down, 4 in 5 teachers felt that the addictive social media was the culprit behind it all. According to researchers, they found out that when parents use digital emotion regulation more often, children showed poorer anger and frustration management skills a year later. Yet another example, it shows that the average person's attention span when using a device has gone from 2.5 minutes to only 45 seconds, which is a 66% decrease. And this research was done on adults. Imagine what the results would be for children. And as the final nail in the coffin, the AAP suggests limiting screen time for infants under 18 months, and if possible, to not give them screen time at all. This is alarming. I think after that, the main takeaway is that brain rot has actually had a real impact on kids, and their devastating effects can actually be observed from clear-cut data. However, it's very unlikely that the contents in the stuff being shown itself is harmful, except with one disgusting exception. You might have seen this one coming, but some of the brain rot content on the internet is explicit. Yup. The same kind of content they know kids are gonna watch. I don't know where to begin with the side effects that this can have, so I'll just leave it and trust that you know why you should not show kids explicit stuff. Anyway, after all the points discussed earlier, I don't actually think most of the issues are coming from the content itself. It's definitely not the kids' fault, because they simply interact with the things and opportunities that are handed to them. There has to be a reason why so many kids have since never let go of the iPad grip. Someone must have handed them the iPads and left it at that. The first reason I believe is that parents are very busy, and the side effect is that they can't spend an adequate amount of time with their kids. Trying to calm a child down from a tantrum or boredom is difficult and tedious. And in the digital age, there came a new solution: which was to give a device to the kid as a substitute for attention, coining the term digital pacifiers. Pacifiers not for their mouths, but for their eyes and brain and future. There are some parents that just aren't very good at doing their job of raising children, neglecting them and having the device do the parenting for them. However, sometimes there's just nothing that they can do. Life is hard and time is valuable, and sometimes compromises need to be made. On the other hand, it could also be that the parents don't know how to use technology properly. It could be that the parents, for the most part, don't know about the dangers that lie ahead of the screen, and that to them, it's just another educational tool in their toolbox. The fact is, the internet in the grand scheme of things is still a very new thing in this world, and not everyone knows how to use it properly, especially when it comes to using it to help kids grow up. In my opinion, social media is a gray area in terms of being good or bad. There's clear evidence that shows it's bad, but at the same time, they can be leveraged in ways that can actually benefit people and help kids with development. Though, there have been cases where devices were taken away completely and the kids come out better than before. The point is that Brainrot content and social media are intentionally addictive, but the environment that the kids grow up in is also how they get addicted to it in the first place. I don't think there's a simple solution to be found here, as there's a lot of factors that need to be taken into consideration. But I do think what's important is awareness. Knowing the dangers that lie in social media and knowing how to communicate with your child about it, because the problem seems to come from how parents treat devices in the first place.